The human in the war-zoned night sky was filled with fire. Explosions lit up the alien world as strange ships fought in the air. The ground shook with every blast. Tall blue mountains stood around the valley, but even they seemed small compared to the giant creatures fighting below. Jason Cole had never seen anything like this. He was a human soldier from Earth, part of a small exploration mission. His ship had suffered a malfunction while traveling through uncharted space. The navigation system failed, and his escape pod crash-landed on this strange world, alone. Far from any human help, as he crawled out of the wrecked pod, his heart pounded. The air was breathable, but filled with smoke. Bright laser beams sliced across the dark sky. Roars of alien beasts echoed in the distance, and then he saw them, the armies locked in battle. One side was made of huge, bulky aliens with thick armor and red glowing eyes. They carried heavy weapons that fired loud, shaking blasts. The other side was smaller, but faster, sleek. Sharp warriors with shining silver armor and long energy blades that hummed in the air. Jason didn't know who these creatures were, but he could see death everywhere. He crawled behind a large rock, trying to stay hidden. The battle raged around him. Strange flying machines swooped overhead. Ground units clashed below. He knew one wrong move could get him killed. Then something caught his eye. In the center of the battlefield, a small group of the sleek, silver-armored aliens was surrounded. They were protecting someone, a tall figure wearing a beautiful shining gown made of moving silver threads. She stood straight, proud, even as enemies closed in from all sides. Jason squinted. The way the others protected her, it had to be someone important, a leader, a queen. The enemy soldiers fired heavy blasts. One of the queen's guards fell. The others were pushed back. Jason could see it clearly now. The queen was trapped. She had nowhere to run, and the enemy was moving closer. Jason's soldier instincts kicked in. He checked his gear. His rifle was damaged from the crash, but still fired. He had only a few energy grenades left. He could run. He could hide. He could wait for the battle to move away. But something inside him said no. The queen was defenseless. She didn't know him. She wasn't even human, but she was alive, and Jason couldn't watch her die. He stood up from behind the rock. The nearest enemy soldier didn't even see him coming. Jason fired his rifle, the beam cutting through the creature's chest. Another turned toward him. Jason threw one of his grenades, and a bright flash blasted the group backwards. Suddenly, all eyes were on him. The queen's guards looked surprised. The enemy was confused for a moment. A single human had entered the fight. Jason didn't stop. He charged forward, using his speed and human tactics. The enemy soldiers were large and powerful, but slow. Jason zigzagged between blasts, firing shot after shot, bringing down several enemies in quick bursts. The queen's guard saw his courage and rallied behind him. With Jason's surprise attack, the tide began to turn. Enemy soldiers stumbled. Their formation broke. Jason ducked under a laser blast and shot the leader of the enemy squad. The massive alien fell with a loud scream. The remaining enemy forces, seeing their leader dead, began to retreat. The battlefield grew silent. Smoke hung heavy in the air. Bodies lay scattered around. Jason stood still, breathing hard. His rifle's energy meter flashed low. He had barely made it. Then he felt them. Dozens of alien eyes turned to him. The queen's guard slowly approached, their weapons still ready. They circled him, their silver armor shining under the glowing sky. Jason raised his hand slightly, showing he meant no harm. And then she appeared, the queen. She was tall, graceful, with skin like soft crystal and eyes that glowed a deep violet. Her gown moved like living metal, wrapping her body with elegance and power. She looked at Jason for a long moment. Silence filled the air. Jason stood frozen, unsure if she would order his death or thank him. Then, her lips moved. Her voice was calm, but powerful. "Bring me the human." The guards moved closer. Jason's heart raced. He didn't know what was waiting for him. But one thing was clear. His life had just changed forever. Astor's taken to the Queen's place. Jason's heart pounded as the alien guards surrounded him. Their sharp weapons glowed faintly in the dark. He could feel their eyes watching his every move, but none of them spoke. They simply followed their queen's order, "Bring me the human." One guard gently grabbed his arm, not rough, but firm, and guided him forward. Jason did not resist. He knew that any sudden movement could turn deadly. As they walked through the smoky battlefield, Jason glanced around. The strange creatures he had fought were gone, leaving only broken weapons, crushed machines, and fallen soldiers. The queen walked ahead of him, her long flowing gown moving like liquid silver under the moonlight. They reached a large transport craft parked at the edge of the battlefield. Its sleek surface reflected the light of distant stars. The ramp lowered with a soft hiss. Jason was led inside. The interior was beautiful. Smooth silver walls, glowing blue lines, and soft white lights filled the ship. It didn't feel like a war machine. It felt like a flying palace. Jason was guided to a private chamber. The guards left him there. The doors slid closed with a quiet hum. He stood alone, unsure of what would happen next. The room was large and warm, with strange but soft furniture. A low table held a plate of colorful alien fruits. Jason didn't dare touch anything. Minutes passed. Then the doors opened again. The queen entered. Jason quickly stood straight, feeling nervous but trying to stay calm. She stepped closer, studying him with her glowing violet eyes. "I am Queen Velaria," she spoke softly, "ruler of the Stellar Dominion. You are the first human I have seen with my own eyes." Jason nodded slowly. "I'm Jason Cole. I come from Earth. My ship crashed here by accident." The queen tilted her head slightly. "You could have run. You could have hidden. Yet you chose to fight. You risked your life to save mine. Why?" Jason swallowed, then answered honestly, "Where I come from, we help those who need it. I didn't care who you were. You were trapped. I couldn't stand by and watch." The queen's face showed no anger, but something else, curiosity. She walked around him slowly, observing his small human form compared to her tall alien figure. "Humans are unexpected," she said, courage mixed with foolishness. Jason gave a small smile. "Sometimes." Queen Velaria sat on a chair shaped like a floating crystal. She gestured for him to sit across from her. Carefully, Jason sat down. "I have never trusted outsiders," she continued, "especially not in the middle of war. But you may be different." Jason's heart eased a little. She didn't sound like someone who wanted him dead. "At least not yet. You are safe for now," she added. "But you must understand, many in my court will not trust you. Some already whisper that you may be a spy. They fear what they do, not understand." Jason nodded. "That's fair. I would be cautious too." The queen's eyes softened for a moment. "But I believe actions speak louder than words. You saved my life. That has earned you temporary protection." Jason relaxed slightly, but stayed alert. Suddenly, another figure entered the chamber. A tall, armored general with sharp eyes. His armor was dark, almost black, with gold symbols carved across his chest plate. "My queen," he said, bowing. "Are you certain this human is not a threat?" Queen Velaria waved her hand. "He is my guest, General Tarek." The general glanced at Jason with thinly hidden anger. "Forgive me, your majesty, but bringing a human into the palace, into your court, is dangerous." Jason could feel the general's hatred. He already knew this man would become a problem. "He has earned this place," Velaria replied firmly, "and if he proves unworthy, I will decide his fate." General Tarek bowed again, but gave Jason a final sharp glare before leaving. The queen turned back to Jason. "You see, human, not everyone here will welcome you." Jason took a deep breath. "I didn't come here to be welcomed. I only want to survive. But if I can help, I will." The queen stared at him for a moment, as if weighing his soul. "Very well," she said softly. "You will stay in the palace under my protection. I will decide later if you belong here." Jason nodded, feeling both relief and tension. The doors opened and two guards entered. "Take him to his quarters," the queen ordered. As Jason followed the guards through the glowing halls of the palace, he couldn't help but wonder, what had he gotten himself into? In the shadows, unknown to him, General Tarek whispered with other council members. "This human will destroy everything. He must be removed." The danger was far from over. The queen's dangerous test next morning. Jason woke up in a large, bright room inside the queen's palace. The bed was soft, and the air smelled fresh. But Jason's mind was not at ease. He knew he was surrounded by aliens who didn't trust him. Every step he took was being watched. A soft chime rang, and the door opened. The guards stood outside, waiting. "The queen requests your presence," one of them said. Jason followed the guards through long hallways, passing glowing crystals and strange floating orbs. Other aliens whispered as he walked by. Some looked curious, some angry, and some fearful. Finally, they entered a grand hall. Queen Velaria sat on a throne made of pure light. Her court was gathered around her, including General Tarek, who watched Jason like a predator watching its prey. Jason stood calmly, waiting for her to speak. Queen Valaria's voice was smooth, but strong. Jason of Earth, last night, I thought about your words. You speak of helping others. You say you are not a threat, but words are easy. Jason nodded. I understand. That is why I have prepared a test. She continued. A border city under my rule is under attack by rebels. I will send my soldiers to defend it, but you human will lead them. The court gasped. Jason was surprised, but kept his face steady. You want me to command your soldiers? Yes, she said. You claim your human methods are different. Show me. General Tarek stepped forward, frowning. Your Majesty, this is foolish. He is untested. He could betray us. Queen Valaria raised her hand to silence him. I will decide what is foolish, General. Jason looked at her directly. I accept the test. The Queen smiled slightly. Good. You leave in 1 hour. Soon after, Jason stood at the edge of the palace. Landing Bay, a small team of alien soldiers waited, their faces uncertain. They had never followed a human before. Jason looked at the map. The rebel force was large and better armed. A direct fight would be deadly. He spoke to the alien soldiers with a calm voice. I know you don't trust me. That's okay, but I don't plan to get any of you killed today. If you listen, we'll outsmart them. The aliens listened carefully as Jason explained his plan. His ideas were strange to them, using traps, surprise attacks, and quick movements rather than brute force. As the transport ship flew them toward the border city, Jason repeated his plan again and again. The soldiers slowly started to believe. When they reached the city, the rebels were already preparing for a full attack. Smoke rose from burning buildings. Jason and his team moved quickly, setting up traps along narrow streets and hidden alleys. When the rebel forces charged into the city, they expected an easy fight. Instead, they walked straight into Jason's traps. Explosions knocked out their heavy machines. Hidden shooters from rooftops picked off the leaders. Smoke grenades confused their ranks. Jason led his team carefully, avoiding full confrontations, but hitting the rebels where they were weak. His tactics worked. Within hours, the rebels panicked and retreated. The city was saved. Later that evening, back at the palace, Queen Valaria watched the battle footage on a floating screen. She was impressed. Strange, she whispered to herself, humans may be small, but they are clever. Jason was brought back before the Queen. This time, the guard stood at ease. The soldiers he had led spoke highly of him. Queen Valaria spoke softly. You have passed my test. You saved my people. Jason smiled. Thank you, Your Majesty. But before she could say more, General Tarek interrupted. He was lucky, Tarek growled. The rebels were weak. He cannot be trusted in true war. The Queen frowned. Enough, Tarek. But the general was not finished. That night, in secret, he called his personal spies. We will not wait for him to grow stronger. The human must disappear. In the darkness of the palace, assassins prepared to move. Jason had won the Queen's respect, but his life was now in greater danger than ever. Asterisk, the secret plot. Moonlight poured softly into Jason's new room inside the palace. He stood near the wide window, looking out at the alien city. The sky was full of strange glowing stars and floating ships moving slowly between towers. He should have felt safe after today's victory, but deep inside, Jason felt something was wrong. The Queen had trusted him more after the battle. Her people now respected him, but not everyone. General Tarek's cold eyes followed him everywhere. Jason knew the general's hatred was growing stronger. There was a knock at his door. A soft voice spoke from the other side. Jason, may I enter? It was Queen Valaria. Jason opened the door and stepped back as the Queen entered, followed by 2 of her personal guards. She wore a long silver robe that softly glowed in the dim light. I wanted to speak to you, she said. Privately, Jason nodded. Of course. She walked to the center of the room, looking thoughtful. You continue to surprise me, human. Jason smiled slightly. That's good, I hope. The Queen studied him closely. You think differently than my generals. You saved that city without losing many lives. You see options, where my people see only war. Jason replied carefully. Sometimes war isn't the only answer. Saving lives is better than destroying them. The Queen's voice softened. You risked your own life for my people. Why? Jason looked into her glowing violet eyes. Because life matters, no matter what species. For a moment, they stood in silence. A strange bond was forming between them, one of respect, curiosity, and something unspoken. Finally, the queen nodded. Rest well, Jason. You may soon face greater tests. She left quietly, her guards following. Jason sighed. Greater tests. That didn't sound peaceful, but in another part of the palace, evil was moving. General Tarek met secretly with a group of council members loyal to him. They gathered in a dark chamber, lit only by a single floating orb. This human is dangerous, Tarek said in a low voice. The queen grows too close to him, one council member whispered, but he saved her life twice. Exactly, Tarek hissed. She trusts him too much. He is gaining influence. Soon he may replace us all. The others exchanged nervous looks. What will you do? One asked. I will remove him quietly, Tarek said. Tonight. Later that night, while Jason slept, two assassins slipped silently through the palace halls. They moved like shadows, wearing black armor that blended into the darkness. The guards outside Jason's room were secretly replaced by Tarek's men. No one would stop the assassins inside the room. Jason suddenly woke. A sound, a feeling. Years of training told him, danger is here. He reached for his sidearm silently. The door slowly slid open. Two assassins entered, their blades glowing faintly. Jason rolled off his bed just as one assassin lunged. The blade sliced the air where his chest had been. Jason fired his weapon quickly, striking the first attacker in the leg. The second assassin leapt forward, knocking Jason's weapon away. They fought hand to hand, crashing into the table and breaking furniture. Jason grabbed a broken chair leg and used it as a club, striking the assassin's helmet hard. The assassin stumbled, giving Jason a brief chance. Suddenly, the door burst open. Queen Valeria stood there with her personal guards. Stop! She shouted. Her guards quickly captured both assassins. Jason stood breathing heavily, blood running from a small cut on his arm. The queen's face was filled with shock and anger. Who sent them? One of her guards examined the captive's armor. The symbols were clear. General Tarek's personal soldiers, Your Majesty. The queen's eyes narrowed. Tarek has crossed the line. The next morning, the palace shook with tension. General Tarek was called to the throne room. He stood before Queen Valeria, who now sat high above him with cold authority. Jason stood beside her, fully healed but more alert than ever. You dare betray your queen? Valeria's voice rang across the hall. Tarek did not bow. His face was hard. I serve the throne, not your foolish weakness for this human. The queen's voice became ice. You serve only yourself. Guards surrounded Tarek. He hissed at Jason. You brought this. You poisoned her mind. Jason said nothing, only meeting Tarek's hateful stare with quiet strength. Remove him, the queen commanded. As Tarek was taken away, the queen turned to Jason. I owe you my life again, she said softly, and now my kingdom. Jason simply answered, you don't owe me anything. I only did what was right. But in that moment, something changed between them, something stronger than duty, something personal. Yet outside the palace, in secret, a new enemy watched from the shadows. Tarek was only a tool, whispered a deep voice. Now we move to destroy both the queen and her human. A greater war was coming. The coup begins these past after General Tarek's arrest. On the surface, peace returned to the palace. The queen ruled as always, her court steady, and Jason remained close by her side as both an advisor and a symbol of her growing trust in him. But beneath that peace, something darker was rising, unknown to the queen. Tarek had powerful friends outside the palace, hidden leaders from old families, jealous of Valeria's rule, angry that a human had earned her trust. These secret enemies had waited for the right moment to strike, and now they saw their chance. Late one night, while the stars blinked quietly over the palace towers, small groups of armored soldiers gathered in hidden chambers across the city. Their weapons were ready. Their orders were clear. Take the palace, capture the queen, kill the human. In the palace, Jason stood on one of the high balconies, looking at the stars. The alien night sky always made him feel small, yet somehow peaceful. Queen Valeria soon joined him. You cannot sleep either? She asked softly. Jason shook his head. Too much on my mind. The queen nodded. I feel it too, like a storm hiding behind calm winds. They stood in silence for a moment, both sensing danger was close. Suddenly, loud explosions shook the palace. Alarms blared. Flashes of light filled the sky as rebel ships attacked the palace defenses. On the ground, enemy soldiers rushed through the streets, fighting loyal guards. The coup had begun. Jason pulled out his weapon. We have to move now. Valaria's guards rushed forward, surrounding her. Jason led them quickly through secret corridors. The rebels were inside the palace already, firing at loyal guards in bloody battles across the halls. Every corner they turned, they saw more chaos, smoke, fallen soldiers, and gunfire. But Jason remained calm. "We take the south escape path," Jason ordered. "Stay close." The queen followed him without hesitation. Her trust in him was complete now. As they moved, rebel soldiers spotted them. A fierce firefight broke out in one of the palace's grand halls. Jason crouched behind a broken pillar, firing carefully. He signaled the guards to flank the rebels. His human battle skills surprised everyone again. Quick thinking, unexpected moves, and calm under pressure. One by one, the attackers fell or fled, but more waves kept coming. "They're everywhere," shouted one guard. Jason knew they couldn't keep running forever. "We need to take back control of the palace." The queen looked at him firmly. "I will stand with you." Jason nodded. "Then we fight." As they fought their way toward the throne room, a new danger appeared. A tall figure stepped out from the shadows. Lord Vakros, one of the secret leaders behind Tarek. He was bigger than most, wearing dark gold armor and holding a massive energy blade. "You should have died long ago, human," Vakros growled. Jason stepped forward. "I saved this world. You only want to destroy it." Vakros laughed darkly. "You are weak, Jason Cole, just flesh and bone. I am power." Without warning, Vakros attacked. Jason dodged quickly. The massive blade missed his head by inches. Jason fired his weapon, but Vakros's heavy armor absorbed the shots. The queen's guards joined the fight. Lasers flashed, blades clashed. The throne room turned into a battlefield. Jason rolled under a falling statue, grabbed a fallen plasma rifle, and fired a powerful blast at Vakros. The shot hit the villain's exposed side, burning through his armor. Vakros roared in pain, swinging his blade wildly. Jason fired again, this time knocking Vakros backward into a large crystal pillar. The impact cracked the crystal, and the heavy structure collapsed on top of him. The fight was over. The queen stood tall, her guards surrounding her. The remaining rebel soldiers surrendered as loyal troops retook control of the palace. Jason lowered his weapon, breathing hard. The queen walked to him, her voice soft but strong. "Once again, you stood between me and death." Jason smiled, tired but relieved. "I told you how to run from people in danger." Queen Valaria placed her hand on his shoulder. "You are more than a guest now. You are my protector, my equal." Around them, her people cheered. The palace was safe again, but far beyond the city. In the dark corners of the galaxy, distant powers watched the humans rise with growing fear. "This human is dangerous," whispered an unseen voice. "He is changing everything." And so, while one battle had ended, the greater war was only beginning. The final battle of Palace was calm again, but everyone knew the danger was not over. In the days after the failed coup, Queen Valaria strengthened her rule. Loyal soldiers guarded every gate. New commanders replaced traitors. The people of the Stellar Dominion cheered for their queen and whispered about the human who stood beside her. Jason had become a hero, but heroes always attract enemies. Far beyond the palace, a large enemy fleet gathered in the dark side of the planet. The last of the traitor leaders had called for outside help. Mercenary warlords who wanted to control the Stellar Dominion for themselves. They brought powerful ships, deadly machines, and advanced weapons. Their leader was Zarek Vorn, a brutal warlord with no mercy. "This queen is weak," Zarek sneered, "and this human, he will fall like the rest." The final battle was coming. In the palace war chamber, Queen Valaria stood with Jason and her new commanders. "The enemy fleet is larger than any we have faced," said one general. "We are outnumbered." Jason studied the battle maps carefully. "We cannot win this by strength, but we can win by strategy." He pointed to weak points in the enemy's formation. "If we strike here," Jason said, "we can divide their fleet. Then we trap their main ships between our orbital defenses and ground cannons." The queen looked at him with steady trust. "It is dangerous." Jason nodded. "Yes, but if we do nothing, they will destroy everything." She placed her hand gently on his arm. "Then we fight together." The battle began at sunrise. The enemy fleet appeared in the sky like a storm of steel. Massive warships fired heavy blasts at the palace shields. Explosions lit the air. Fighters swarmed like insects. Queen Valaria stood on the command deck beside Jason, giving orders calmly. Her voice carried strength. Jason worked with her. directing ground forces and air squadrons. The Queen's forces followed Jason's strange but effective human tactics. They used decoys, hidden weapons, and fast surprise strikes. Soon, the enemy fleet split. Just as Jason had predicted, now the Queen gave the final order: release the ground cannons. Massive energy blasts shot from hidden towers, striking the exposed enemy ships. Explosions filled the sky. One by one, the enemy warships fell. But Zarek Vorn was not done. His personal assault ship landed directly near the palace gates. Dozens of heavy armored soldiers stormed the palace ground. The final fight would happen face to face. Jason led the defense. With plasma rifles and energy shields, he and the Queen's guards fought fiercely, step by step. The enemy was strong, but Jason's leadership kept their lines steady. Suddenly, Zarek himself entered the battlefield, a giant of a creature, wearing dark armor with sharp edges, carrying a heavy war hammer that crackled with energy. "You!" Zarek shouted, pointing at Jason, "the human who dares stand beside a queen." Jason raised his weapon. "You want me? Come and try." Zarek charged forward. Their battle was brutal. Zarek's hammer smashed the ground, sending shockwaves. Jason dodged, rolled, and fired. His shots bounced off the heavy armor. Jason grabbed a plasma blade from a fallen guard and engaged Zarek at close range. Sparks flew as blade and hammer clashed. Zarek's strength was overwhelming, but Jason was faster, smarter. He used every trick he knew, moving, striking, wearing Zarek down. The Queen watched with fear, but trust. Finally, Jason saw an opening. As Zarek swung wildly, Jason slipped under his arm, stabbing the plasma blade deep into the weak joint of Zarek's armor. With a roar, Zarek collapsed. The battlefield froze. The Queen's forces cheered. The enemy surrendered. The final battle was won. Jason stood breathing heavily as Queen Velaria approached. "You have done more than save my life," she said softly. "You have saved my people. You have changed my world." Jason smiled tiredly. "I couldn't let them take what you built." For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Then the Queen spoke words that surprised everyone. "From this day forward, Jason Cole is no longer a visitor. He is part of my house, my council, my future." The court bowed. The human had not just earned respect. He had earned a place beside a queen, but far away, in the darkest corners of the galaxy. Unknown powers whispered, a human standing beside an alien queen. The galaxy will never be the same. The Queen's decision battle was over. For the first time in many months, the palace was quiet. No more alarms, no more attacks. The people of the Stellar Dominion cheered in the streets, celebrating their victory. The dark days of fear were finally behind them. Inside the grand palace, Queen Velaria stood on her balcony, looking at her city glowing under the twin moons. Peace had returned, but her heart was full of emotion she could not ignore. Beside her stood Jason Cole. He was no longer a stranger, no longer just a guest. He had become her greatest ally, her protector, and something more. "I never thought a human would become so important to my people," Velaria said softly. Jason smiled. "And I never thought I would be standing on an alien world, fighting for a queen." They both laughed gently, but the air between them was heavy with feelings unspoken. The Queen turned toward him. "Jason, you have risked everything for me. You stood against enemies who wanted to destroy what we built." Jason replied quietly, "You gave me a place when I had nothing. You trusted me when others didn't." She stepped closer. "My people respect you. My council honors you, but I feel something even stronger." Jason met her glowing violet eyes. "I feel it too." For a moment, no words were needed. Two souls from two different worlds had found something rare, not just friendship or alliance, but a bond that crossed species, cultures, and galaxies. The next day, the Queen held a grand gathering in the palace courtyard. Nobles, soldiers, and citizens gathered under the clear sky. Queen Velaria stood before her people. Jason stood beside her, wearing the official royal symbol pinned on his chest. "My people," Velaria spoke, her voice calm and full of power. "Today, we celebrate not only victory, but a new beginning." She paused. "There was once fear that a human could not be trusted, but this human has shown us courage, wisdom, and loyalty. He fought beside us, bled beside us, and saved us." The crowd cheered loudly. Queen Velaria continued, her voice softer, but full of emotion. "From this day forward, Jason Cole will no longer be a visitor to our world. He will be my official advisor, my protector." And she paused, looking into his eyes. My chosen partner. The crowd gasped in surprise. A royal bond between their queen and a human had never happened in their history. Jason stepped forward. His voice was steady, but full of emotion. I never thought I would find a home among the stars. But here, among you, I found purpose, and I found love. The crowd erupted into loud cheers, chanting both their names. Weeks passed. Jason adjusted to his new role. He worked daily with the Queen's Council, helping rebuild the damaged cities, training the military with human tactics, and building stronger peace across the region. The people slowly accepted him, not as a foreigner, but as one of their own. Every evening, he would stand beside Queen Valeria on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. One evening, Valeria spoke softly. You came from the stars, and yet you stayed. Jason smiled. Because home isn't where you're born, it's where you find your family. She gently placed her hand in his, and together, under the endless alien sky, a human and an alien queen stood, partners, leaders, and symbols of a new hope for two worlds.